This is D-Style Boxing. For more content, subscribe. Hit the bell button for notifications. Catch HCP Tuesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Hit the like button and enjoy this interview with future star Xander Zayas. For this interview, we have the one and the only Xander Zayas, Puerto Rico stand-up. All right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's going to be longer than your last fight for sure. Like, there's no doubt it's going to be a longer interview. If not, it would have already been over. You were talking to us offline about it, and of course, we're going to ask you again to share with the audience. First of all, how are you doing, and how do you feel after that spectacular victory?
Man, Hispanics Causin Panic. I'm glad to be here. Last time had a blast. This time I know I'm gonna have a blast. I'm great. Got into training camp yesterday, Monday, right? Today is Tuesday, right? Kind of losing the days now. But I'm awesome. I'm doing good. My family's doing good, and I'm just glad to be here today.
Absolutely. First of all, great setup. I mean, you're going places. We could already tell. You're gonna have gold ceilings and everything in tumor fights, I think,
Yeah, yes, sir. Doing a little upgrade. Last time was kind of like the background was kind of in my room. Now we got a little studio going on. Got the top rank hat, the WBC hat, the Grant glove, the Puerto Rican flag. Got a couple trophies from the amateurs. Going places, little by little.
That's right. Hey, what happened last fight? I mean, I was told to get a drink of water, and then it was over. Like, talk to us about that performance, brother.
It was a step up. It was a step up 5. The guy was 8 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, 5 wins by knockout. Tall, lanky guy. But like I was saying to you guys backstage, we knew that he couldn't handle pressure. We knew if we would have given the opportunity to box, he would have used the ring well because he knows how to use the ring. But the game plan was stay close to him. Don't let him extend the punches and just put the pressure, and that's what we did from the first belt. Again, backstage, I was telling you guys how he kept the chin up and he was throwing a lazy right hand. And just I capitalized on it. I saw it. He hit me with one right hand, and I saw the mistake that he was making. He was bringing it back down, and I just made him pay. I just made him pay in the second one, and it was a hook that we was working throughout camp, and it worked out in my favor.
Absolutely. Before we I let someone else go here, I did want to ask you. I played the clip there. I know you were talking about you've been rehearsing that celebration. You finally did it.
Yes.
Did you catch yourself after the fight? Oh, I got to do this, or like did you remember about HCP? Like, what happened in that moment?
Man, I was so hyped because the fans were there after a long year. So and again, it was in Kissimmee with all the Puerto Rican fans. So when I connected the first hook, they went crazy. So once like the referee stopped the fight, the only thing I could think of was like, let's go. Like I did this like in front of the fans, in front of the whole fans, in front of my whole family. So I don't know. I just, it kind of like happened. But I did make sure I said, this is boxing, this is top ring. I said it to the cameras. I even got a video of it. But again, it's like I always tell you guys, it's so many emotions going on at the moment. You don't even think what you're saying. Then you're like, oh, I said that.
Hey, well, I'm the one that asked you to give me the pound of the chest like Tito. So, I was looking, man. I was watching close. I was like, he might do it. Let me just look at
No. Hey, and then my dad, after the fight, my dad told me, like, yo, you need pound the chest. And I'm like, man, I forgot.
That was good to see, man. But
man, thank you.
Yeah, I could just tell, man, that the fighters, all of the young Puerto Rican fighters that were on that card were really amped up, really excited to be back in front of fans, and
Yeah.
But I want to ask you, there's a little bit of a rebirth, a little bit of a renaissance here happening with Puerto Rico, and there was a lot of young fighters, a lot of talented young fighters on that card. How does it feel to be a part of that? Right, you're like right in the middle, and there's a lot of people that I've been talking to that think you're going to come out to be the best out of all of them. So, how does that feel to be a part of that new renaissance of Puerto Rican boxing?
It means a lot. It means a lot because 2 years ago I was watching them on TV. 2 years ago it was myself wanting to be in that position, and now that I'm there with all those guys, it shows me that the hard work is paying off. It showed me that with the right guidance, with the stepping the right way and doing the right thing, things will pay off. And I'm just blessed. I'm glad to have such a Puerto Rican fan base, such a fan base overall. All those guys that are coming up with me, they're great guys. They're very humble. They work hard, and they just want to bring the same thing I want to bring to my island of Puerto Rico. That is glory and championships, and we're looking forward to do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of good young fighters. We've kept our eye on quite a few. But I want to get your thoughts on a guy who's been really becoming, like how we like to say here, over with the fans. He's getting real popular, and that's Edgar Berlanga. He went in there, finally got some rounds in, went 8 rounds, silenced the critics. What did you think of his performance that night, man?
I think he gave himself a C. I give himself an A. He showed that he could box. He showed that he has power in round 1 or in round 8. He shows that he could take a punch. I was happy. I was happy with his performance. I went backstage after the fight, and he told me that he was also happy that he got the rounds in. He told me, man, if they would have given me 10 more seconds in that last round, I would have knocked them out. And I'm like, hey, but at least you got the unanimous decision. Now, at least you got 8 rounds now that you could go back and look at. And man, he was just happy. He was just happy. I was happy for him. And we spent camp and fight week together. So, seeing him going rounds meant a lot.
Yeah, I was actually glad to see him go some rounds myself. Go ahead, D-Style.
So first, congratulations, man, on your last fight.
Thank you,
and congratulations on the fact you were able to execute that counter attack on your boy, grabbed him against the rope, and completely neutralized him with the very punches that he might have seen coming, but he just couldn't stop. The question I have for you, though, is now that this fight was over, how soon can we see you back in the ring? How soon are you planning on going back to camp?
Like I said, I started training yesterday. Hopefully June, I'm back in the ring. If they call me tomorrow, tell me be ready by Saturday, I'll be ready by Saturday. But again, hopefully June, I could be back in the ring. That's what we're looking at right now. I haven't received any call, but we're training for sometime in June.
Definitely. Just like you, I didn't agree with Berlanga giving himself a C, because I thought that the guy did extremely well. I thought that he went 8 rounds, but he also gave us some knockdowns. And, 100%. As a boxing fan, not only do I want to see a very good boxing match, but, knockdowns are welcome as well. I myself give him an A,
I give him an A 100%. His opponent was very cautious. He knew what he had in front of him, and he was just surviving. He got to a point that the guy didn't want to throw punches. He was just trying to survive. And, Berlanga did it the right thing on staying composed, on, keep boxing, keep using the distance, keep, cutting the distance, cutting the ring, using the right combination, using the right punches. And he did what he had to do to get the victory.
Correct. Now, when you were working and preparing for this camp, how often or how long did it took you and your camp to sort of say, okay, this is what the guy does, this is what we're going to do in able to beat him? Because, sometimes you can watch films and it takes you a couple of times, maybe sometimes you spend a few weeks looking at film after film, dissecting mistakes after mistakes. How long between you and your coach before you guys said, okay, this guy does this is what we need to do?
Well, at least for my fights, my coach and my dad kind of sit down and go through it. Then they come to me and they're like, all right, this is what we're going to work on. for this fight, even though the guy had 10 fights, it was very hard to find videos of him because there weren't too many videos. It was like 2 or 3 videos. But throughout the 3 videos, that it was the same mistakes. It's nothing changed. Nothing. It was nothing different from each fight. Then the guy knew how to keep distance. The guy knew how to box at distance. The guy was long, but every time somebody was getting close to him or putting the pressure, he couldn't. He was either grabbing them or staying in and tight. He couldn't. We knew he couldn't box inside, and that was just the game plan. That was the game plan. We had a really tall guy for our shout out to him. Shout out to Marlon. We had him from down here in Miami. He was 6'3". Kind of had the same style, fighting at distance, fighting at bay, and we had a great training camp. We had a great training camp.
For sure, definitely the mid range worked very good for you, at least 100%. In the little bit that the fight lasted. But that's all I got for now.
All right, Chicano Prophet, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, man. Well, I love to hear you talk about the sweet science. I can tell you're definitely like a student of the game, bro. And I know that fight didn't last very long, but you had the game plan going. And I'm just curious, did you have to make any adjustments? I mean, was there anything that he surprised you with that you had to readjust for?
Maybe the first right hand. That first right hand, I didn't expect it. And that's why after if you go back to the video, you could see that I kind of like feint him, so I could bait him in and then throw my counter. But that first right hand, he hit me because I kind of like went straight in and I didn't use an angle or move the head. But I made that adjustment. All right, I saw that he was throwing a lazy right hand. So I'm like, all right, let me feint, let me use an angle, let me do something so I can bait him in and then throw my counter.
Nice, man. Well, as you know, man, there's a lot of people online. Puerto Ricans are excited about you, Latinos, and just the YTBC in general, man. We really like your skills. And so I'm just curious, you seem to be just enjoying the journey, and you understand that you're a prospect and that you're only 18, and you seem to be patient, not too eager to kind of do anything too fast, but you're also ready for the next challenges that come about. So I'm just curious, like in a perfect scenario, like how soon do you see yourself fighting for a title?
I'll say maybe end of 2022. Beginning of 2023. Hopefully we in the right position. Hopefully we're ranked at whatever weight we were at. And Top Rank give us the opportunity to fight for a title. But again, we want to take everything step by step. We want to enjoy the process. And when the time is right, I know Top Rank is going to give me the opportunity, and I'm going to take advantage of it.
Very nice. Thanks, Xander.
We have a question from the chat here from D Jesus. Can you talk about sparring with big names? What's the best advice they've given you?
Well, it depends. It depends because they all have different styles, and I kind of have to adjust to every style that they have. But I think one of the biggest guy that I've sparred that is fighting now on June 5th is George Cambosos. He's like, he's fighting my other big brother, Teofimo Lopez. And, I sparred him for the last 3 camps. And, he always tell me, keep the foot there on the pedal, keep training hard, stay dedicated and stay focused on what you got to do.
Perfect. Haplo tap in the chat saying, who's your favorite Puerto Rican fighter of the past and the Puerto Rican fighter who you borrow from the most stylistically?
Miguel Cotto. Miguel Cotto is my favorite fighter of all times. Somebody that I still look at. I learn from him every fight. You see something different. And he's just a gentleman inside and outside the ring.
Okay, absolutely. What's up, 408? Go ahead, brother.
Xander, pleasure to see you, man. I was one of the people that was at your very first professional fight in Reno, if you remember me, and then I saw you again in Las Vegas at the second one, and then the pandemic hit us, right? But I've been following your career this whole time, buddy. There was a little bit of time in between those first 2 pro fights that you moved. They were broadcasting your fights on Telemundo, and I was scratching my head because your career was going so fast, and I thought, man, what are they doing wrong? But now I'm starting to think, was it a genius strategy move where they were trying to get your audience built up with Latinos, with just a bigger demographic of Latinos, period? 100%. Because the fight in Florida sold extremely well. it was success for you and Berlanga,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And
100%.
that being said, I mean, they probably would love to televise you even more so on Telemundo and whatnot. But is the goal still to hit Madison Square Garden as New York City's opening up? Maybe you and Berlanga headlining a car together.
Well, that would be great. That would be a dream come true. But yeah, going back to the question, when the pandemic hit, we didn't want to take a risk on going into the bubble and maybe testing positive, and then having to stay there for 14 days by ourselves. So we kind of like took a step to the side and said, all right, we can still fight here in Telemundo, and we could also grab the attention of all the Latinos or all the Latin America, the Caribbean, and that's what we did. We went kind of like that route, and then at the beginning of 2021, Top Rank called us and said, all right, let's get you in on ESPN Plus and let's get you going again, and that's what's going on right now. But yeah, fighting on MSG will be amazing. I don't know when it will happen. Hopefully it happens maybe in June, maybe sometime in December. It depends. It depends on how fast New York opens up. But whenever it happens, I'll be ready, and it will be a pleasure to fight there.
Yeah, so I have watched all your fights so far that you've had, and it surprised me. There's a lot of expectations on fighters like you in a unique position who've not just about knocked everyone out. And I think the one guy that stood out to me, you fought a guy who was maybe a professional MMA fighter, and he refused to go down. But what
Yes.
learning lessons? He refused to go down. But what does that say about some fighters that maybe are in unique positions like you and Berlanga, that there's pressure from the audience that they think you're going to knock everybody out? But there was some learning lessons there, right?
100%, 100%. You always learn. It doesn't matter if it goes to distance or if he ends in the first round. You always learn something new. This last fight, I learned not to get too happy when I see the guy hurt. Kind of, choose my punches. Going back to that, I think it was my third fight. In Atlantic City. We learned that we have to break a guy down, and maybe at that time, because I was fighting 4 rounds, it wasn't enough time to break him down how we wanted. But we got the job done. We got the job done, and that was the most important part.
Most definitely. And I'm excited to eventually see you back on the West Coast, hopefully in Las Vegas, because social media is going nuts for these Taylor Ramirez tickets. And I know they're going to have tickets for you, man. So hopefully I'll run into you somewhere.
Man, hopefully, hopefully I can make it. I can make it to Vegas to watch that fight. If not, I'll be watching it here at home. But man, that would be amazing to go out there and see Ramirez and Taylor fighting, live.
Absolutely, man. And shout out to Bernie Barmacel. Thank you, man. Thanks for talking to me today.
Hey, real quick, I want to send a shout out, Sanders. There's the people from the rainforest in Rio Grande, Puerto Rico, watching you right now. So if you want to send them a shout out, go ahead, man.
No, de verdad que muchas gracias a toda mi gente de Puerto Rico, toda mi gente de Rio Grande, toda mi gente de mi isla, de la isla del encanto. Súper agradecido con todos ustedes, todo el cariño, todo el amor, y significa mucho para mí. Muchas gracias.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, speaking of Puerto Rico, we have a question from H Money Boxing. He's asking, does he know fellow Puerto Rican fighter Armani Almestica? Okay, yeah, from Orlando, Florida. Are you familiar with him?
Yeah, I do know him. We actually won on my last Jersey national. We actually won it. He won it at 141. I won it at 152. So we made Team USA together. Great guy, great boxing skills, and he's coming. He's up next too.
Okay, awesome. Now, one thing I want to ask you, because like when we're interviewing, you're such a nice guy. I would never guess like, oh, this guy's a fighter, right? So, can you describe to us like what it's like, especially now that you fought in front of a crowd, right? What is it like when you're walking out? Because I've heard fighters say different things. I've heard fighters say they just blank it all out. They don't hear anybody. It's just them and their opponent. I've heard others say they take it all in. Like, what's Xander Zayas like when you walk out into the crowd?
Man, at the beginning, I kind of like, blocked it all out and just, it was tunnel vision. But this time around, this last time, because I didn't have a crowd in so long, I heard like everything they were screaming, everything they were saying. They were like, motivating me going into the ring. But once I got into the ring, it kind of felt like everything blacked out again. Everything was just tunnel vision, just me and my opponent, and the voices of my coaches and my dad in my head. But yeah, it was just amazing. It just different feelings, but I think this time around was a little bit different than at the beginning when the crowd was there.
Okay. Right, because it's like a switch goes off. You're like a Terminator.
Yeah, yeah,
100%. You know what I mean? Like, so
it's go time.
Yeah,
it's go time.
it's go time. And then after the fight, it's Xander again.
100%. He's a nice guy.
The nice guy, absolutely. And you know what? I know you said he's one of your favorite fighters ever, and look, I was a big fan of Cotto, but the one thing he didn't have was that personality, right? Like you remind me a lot of Trinidad, who like talks a lot to the people, is very flamboyant, has charisma. That's who you remind me of. You know what I mean? And now, what I wanted to ask you is this: do you have a goal to be up there as the best? And I know it's early to ask you this. I know you're young. But is that your goal, to be the best Puerto Rican fighter that ever lived? That's a hell of a goal, but is that a goal?
I think not just me, but I think every athlete in any sport, you could ask this question and they will give you the same answer. All respects to all the legends in Puerto Rico, but I'm working hard to be the best. I'm working hard to be the best to ever do it. To be a world champion in multiple divisions, to be an undisputed world champion in multiple divisions. To complete all my goals in boxing and in life. So yes, I'm looking forward and I'm working hard to be the best.
Absolutely.
I want to ask you another question, man. Your fight before this last one, you were in there with a guy who was a Philadelphia fighter, tough guy. That fight went the distance, but I feel like it was a good learning experience for you. Did you feel the same way about that fight?
Yeah, 100%. I had the guy on cruise control the whole fight. It was a boxing lesson. We knew that the guy was tough. We knew that he could take a punch. So, we got to a point that we just outboxed him. We just outboxed him, not let him touch me. And that's the sweet sign of boxing, get hit and not get hit. And I think I made that happen on my last fight, not last fight, but the one before that one.
Yeah. I agree, man. I was thinking, like, you know what? It's good to get rounds in. It's good to get that experience, especially when you're this young and you're this new in the game. I thought it was a good fight for you as well. I love how you use those left hooks to the body after the at the end of those combinations you throw, and I think those are beautiful.
And if you see last time, going back to that fight, I was throwing the left hook to the body, but I wasn't coming to the top. This time around, my last fight, I kind of went to the body and the head. So, it's an improvement that, people don't see or people don't look at. But there's some, little things like that are going to get me to that next level.
Yeah, exactly. Now I want to ask you something, man. There's a lot of news breaking this week. We got a big fight with Canelo versus Billy Joe Saunders. And he's complaining about the ring size now.
I know. I heard.
I want to know your thoughts on that, because me looking back at your fight, I noticed that ring you guys were in that night was pretty small. I don't know what size it was, but it was pretty small.
I think it was 18 by 18. I'm not really sure, but when I go out there, I always go before the fight to warm up and see the ring, see how it feels. When I got in there, I looked at my dad and I'm like, Dad, this is like a box. Like, this is small. Like, there's nowhere to run. So seeing a world champion complaining about the ring or about the size, it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny because at the end of the day, this is boxing. This is boxing, and obstacles are gonna be there no matter what. You just gotta have the mentality, the right mentality to say, all right, the ring might not be in my favor, but I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do to win the fight. And that's what Canelo say. Man, the ring is not a problem. I'm going in there to fight. And that's why Canelo is the best pound for pound right now. I'm sorry. I just had to throw that in there.
Well, and speaking of that, I mean, they asked Canelo, and he said, "You know what? If it's that big of a problem, fine, whatever. I'm still going to punish him." He said, "You know,
100%, because it's what you're supposed to do. Is what you're supposed to do. You shouldn't have a problem with a boxing ring, with anything else. I mean, if it's not the glove or the hand wraps, then I'll give you that. Then I'll probably say, all right, you're protecting your own health. But the ring, come on now, the ring is not gonna make any difference. If you're gonna get hit, you're gonna get hit anyways."
Facts. I'm kind of glad that came out of your mouth, because had it been us just saying that, people will probably think we're making all kinds of excuses to protect Canelo or to protect Billy Joe Saunders. And look, at the end of the day, these two guys are professionals, and an extra couple of feet might help or may not. So I'm kind of glad it came out of your mouth.
Man, a couple of feet are not going to help you if you're gonna get knocked out. You're gonna get knocked out anyways. If you're gonna get hit, you're gonna get hit anyways. So 2-3 feet, 2-3 inches are not going to make a big difference. It's a ring. You cut the ring off, I'm already in front of you. I cut the ring to the other side, I'm already in front of you again. So it doesn't really matter how big the ring is.
Well said. Now, we do have a question from D here. It says, being a red-hot prospect, good-looking young cat, he says, how do you deal with all the distractions and the limelight, golf, yoga, etc.? Like, how do you deal with all these distractions?
Well, my dad and my mom, they've been doing a great job with that. I have a great team. They've been keeping me on the line of, staying true to myself, staying serious to what I want to do in my life. And my parents are a big part of that. But other than that, hobbies that I like going to the beach. I like, going to the malls with my boys. I like shopping, playing video games, just like a regular teenager or a regular guy, will do. Just have a little fun, but be on the mindset that, any stupid mistake will, could cost everything.
Absolutely. Now, shout out to Christine from In the Ring with Christine. Wants to ask this question here, and it's when you were with Team USA, there was sports psychologists. How important do you think sports psychologists are, at every level of boxing? Do you have a sports psychologist, for example? And, because, what happened with Ryan Garcia, and, do you think that's an important aspect?
Oh, yes. I do believe it's an important aspect. Some people might need a sports psychologist because it might get them in the right mindset. Me personally, I've never had a sports psychologist, never had, the problem of having to talk to a sports psychologist. But I believe that if somebody needs it, and if somebody, believe that they need the help, might as well go and get it,
You know what you have? He has a Latino mom that's grabbed him from the ear. Like, ya no vas a hacer eso, and that's it.
Right? Yo, I got one of those, 100%.
There you go. Tony Boswa, I appreciate that, brother. He says, much respect to HCP, and also, Chad, I also want to thank this young man for sharing his time. Much respect to Xander Zayas. Absolutely. I appreciate that, brother. Yeah, definitely. Hey, Xander, what's next? Well, what do you know so far? What's next? Because I know you're fighting. It seems like every other month now, so.
I wish I can answer that question. Like I said, I'm already back in the gym. I'm already putting in work. I'm already, getting back to, back in weight. Not that I'm off weight, but just getting back to basic. Getting back to sparring, kind of like sparring fit.
Okay.
But I don't have any date yet. Hopefully June. I'm looking forward to fighting June. That will be my third fight of 2021, and I want to fight at least 6 times this year. I want to step up in competition every time I step into the ring. I want to end up the year fighting 8-rounders, and the most important one, I want to win Prospect of the Year. So for that, I have to stay active. I have to stay focused, and I have to keep beating everybody that they put in front of me.
Got to keep beating everybody that they put in front of you. That's for sure. And do you feel like the opposition getting better as you're, Are they improving the opposition for you?
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Just right.
100%. I mean, the first guy of this year of 2021 was 6-1. This last guy was 8-1. So we little by little we're stepping up. People might say, "Oh yeah, but he hasn't fought nobody," but he hasn't. But he has a good record. He's been in there. He's he has fought for his record. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who have you fought. You at the end of the day, you're still 8-1. You're still 6-1. So I think we little by little we're stepping up. Yes.
All right. Well, one more question.
Oh, sorry, D-Star. I just wanted to get a question.
Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to bring up that immediately after your fight, I saw that you were running at the beach. Speaking of the beach, with Oscar Valdez, who just had one of the most sensational, career highlight wins, and I was wondering if he imparted anything on you.
Well, I remember how everything started. I was coming down from the fight Sunday, and he calls me and he's like, "Hey, do you know any place in Miami that I could run?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" I mean, Miami Beach. It just depends on where you want to run. He's like, "Yeah, I want to run like someplace that is like a nice view. You could see things." I'm like, "Well, Miami Beach is a nice route." And I was like, "Oh, how long are you running?" He's like, "Oh, I'll probably do like 7 miles." And I'm like, "So I'm in." He's like, "Do you want to go? Do you want to be in?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I went. He's a great guy. Like again, a big brother. Always tells me, that I'm gonna be the next champion of the world. That I'm gonna, that I'm going places. The only thing I have to do is stay focused. And it's funny because he said we're gonna do 7 miles, and at the end of the day, we ended up doing 8 miles. But it is what it is. He beat me by like this much. In the last phase of the race, he kind of like sprinted and I didn't see it, and then when I looked to the side, he's like already in front of me. I'm like, man, you got me. But it was a nice run. It was a nice run.
It's just
important. You want a rematch of that run?
It's the day after your fight.
100% I won that. Yeah, 100% I won that rematch. 100%. Hopefully in June. Hopefully in June or July we could do a 10K or something. I know he likes running 10K, so hopefully I can make it happen here in Miami, or I probably go to Mexico and do it with him.
Yeah.
Xander, I love that.
I know that Oscar Valdez collects crocodiles and alligators. I was wondering if maybe next time he might pick himself up a gator in Florida.
Well, myself, crocodiles and alligators are my favorite animal. I love them. I've learned so much about them. He invited me to his ranch. We making the arrangement. We, setting everything down for me to go out there. But he actually went. When he came here, he went to the Florida. I'm sorry, I forgot the name.
Everglades or
the Everglades. Yeah, the Everglades.
That's cool.
And he saw a couple alligators, and we went to the Miami Heat game. We have fun. We have fun that Monday, and we spend it together. So it was a great experience to spend it alongside with the champ.
When somebody asks Xander Zayas to describe himself as a fighter, you say what?
Smart, aggressive, that throws that is very persuasive with his combinations, throws the best combinations, punch the body, punch the head, good footwork, good head movement, keeping the hands up, and just wanting to get the victory by any means.
Xander Zayas has positioned himself at the top of the mountain as the representative of Puerto Rican boxing, and now it is Xander Zayas' turn to be participant in the Puerto Rico versus Mexico boxing war. Who do you think would be that guy?
Canelo Alvarez.
Whoa! Yeah, I love that, man.
I have to. Canelo. I respect Canelo Alvarez. I look up to Canelo Alvarez. One of my favorite boxers of all time too. But at the end of the day, he beat my favorite boxer. He retired my favorite boxer. Because let's be honest, after that fight with Miguel Cotto and Canelo, Miguel Cotto wasn't the same. He kind of retired. So I kind of want to, give him the revenge and kind of retire him.
What you're saying is what goes around comes around.
Comes
That's what you're
around.
saying.
100%.
And you're gonna be okay with an 18-foot round. You with the
18-foot, you're good.
Hey, you can make it 10 by 10 if you want to. This is a fight.
Yeah.
There we go. Hey,
Well,
let me
I'll
tell you
ask you this.
something. Yeah, go ahead, Jaffa. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna ask you this, man. We just had a pay-per-view this weekend. There's another young 147 pounder who's got a few more fights than you, but could be a future fight. Mexico versus Puerto Rico in the future. Jesus Ramos and Xander Zayas, man. Would that be a fight you'd be interested in the future?
That would be a fight. That would be a fight that would be great for the fans. In the future, he, like you said, he's a little bit ahead of me in fights. But if we can make it happen in the future, that would mean a lot. He's a great fighter, strong fighter. But may the best man wins. I know I'm gonna put on a show like I always do, and hopefully if it happens, we'll put on a show for the fans.
That's right. Yep. And if you see Oscar Valdez in the near future, let him know G-Funk of HCP had his back against Alacran Berchelt. I was the only one here picking him to beat him. All right, let him know that.
Man, and what's funny? I was there live. And I wanted him to beat Alacran, but I also knew that Alacran was a strong guy. He was a strong gun, and he was there to fight. But Oscar just had the better game plan.
Yep.
Absolutely. Now I know you said that obviously the Canelo fight's going to be big. Even if it was Irish, it would be big. You know what I mean? But how important is that to you to sometimes, even if it's not against Canelo, just in general, to have a big Mexican versus Puerto Rican like pay-per-view or something of that magnitude?
Man, that will mean the world to me. The battles of Puerto Rico versus Mexico have always been a thing. Has always been big. That they have always sell tickets. They have always have the fans on their seat. Seeing who's gonna connect, who's gonna land the fastest or the strongest punch. So having a fight of that magnitude in the future will mean a lot. With any Mexican warrior, I will be there to fight. I will be there to give my heart out and get the victory by any means.
There you go. Xander, I want to thank you for coming on, man. It's been a pleasure for you to come out here on Hispanics Causin Panic. Are you down with HCP, Xander?
What was that?
Are you down with HCP? Are you are down with us?
Come on now. Why would you ask me that? You had me confused a little. I'm like, wait, what?
Oh.
No, but what would you? Well, come on now. Like, I wouldn't be here. Right? No, I'm kidding. It's always a pleasure. Having an interview with you guys. I always have fun. Last time was fun. This time was fun. I know next time is gonna be even funner. Again, I'm just blessed to have the opportunity that you guys always give me. It's like a house to me, and I'm just glad and blessed again to be here with you guys. So thank you.